On July 11, 2005, Brittany Lawrence, who had just turned 18 and finished high school, was found dead on her bed in her Salisbury, North Carolina home. Reginald Weeks, who was her stepfather, found her dead body. She died from a knife wound to the neck. At first, police thought that a failed robbery was what led up to the crime. But as they looked into the case more, they started to find scary things and shocking family secrets. Why did Brittany's life end in such a sad way? What dark secrets from her family's past are just ready to come out? Hi and welcome back to our channel. If you are new here, please consider subscribing, as it helps us motivate to create more intriguing content for you. Let's have a look at the most twisted case you've ever heard, the case of Brittany Lawrence. Salisbury is a city in North Carolina with more than 35,000 people living there. Rowan County is where the city is, and it has a long and interesting history. It has beautiful buildings, streets with lots of interesting shops, and a strong art scene. From the Rail Walk Studios and Gallery to the busy Salisbury Historic District, there is something for everyone to see. But in this city, there was a very sad crime. To get the whole story, we need to go to Forsyth County, North Carolina, where everything began. Brittany Lawrence was born in Forsyth County, North Carolina, on May 7, 1987, to Roderick Lawrence and Angela Vontina. Everyone who knew her knew she was something special. She had the heart of an angel. But as time went on, Brittany's parents changed the way they felt about each other, and they eventually broke up. It is still not clear why they broke up. Angela, Brittany's mom, later married Reginald Weeks. Angela lived with her mother and husband at 916 Scale Street in Salisbury, Rowan County, North Carolina. Brittany's real father, Roderick, was always there for her and stayed a big part of her life. Brittany went to North Rowan High School, where she was involved in a lot of different activities. She was the Sunday school secretary, sang in the youth band, and was on the board for the junior guards. In May 2005, Brittany was glad to wear her graduation cap and leave North Rowan High School. At 18, she planned to go to Rowan-Cabarrus Community College in the fall, and then move to North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University to study teaching. She has always wanted to teach. But before she went to college, Brittany decided to work during the summer. She wanted to do something, and this was a chance to make money while she got ready for school. Brittany was happy about the job she got for the summer and worked hard at it. She worked hard every day because she knew it would make her a better person and make her stronger. Now, Asti Lawrence was Brittany's half-sister. Asti was the daughter of Brittany's father from a past relationship. Even though they had different moms, they were very close and had a strong connection. On June 19, 2005, Father's Day, they decided to go see their dad. When she was 15, Asti lived with her mother and her mother's husband. Both girls had a fun and exciting day on their trip. It was a fun, worry-free day. They were laughing and having fun, but they did not know that it would be the last time they ever saw each other. On the afternoon of July 11, 2005, something terrible happened in Salisbury. The police got an urgent call about a stabbing at Brittany's house. When Officer Brent Hall got there, he asked, "How long do you have an emergency?"
How long do you have an emergency?
She's not breathing. We don't know what to do. She's been stabbed.
The ambulance was already there, and a few worried people were standing outside the house. Officer Hall walked into the house and went straight to Brittany's room. He carefully looked at the sad scene in front of him and wrote down everything he could remember. She was dead because she was on the floor next to her bed. Officer Hall saw that she was still wearing her clothes and that there was blood on her neck. He asked where she was stabbed because he needed to know right away what was going on. The first responders told him that the cut was in her neck. Officer Hall asked Reginald, Brittany's dad, what was going on in all the chaos. Reginald was with his father, and they talked about how sad the scene was. At 4:15, he and his dad went to the house to get some work papers. When they got there, Brittany was on her bed, bleeding. With the help of his father, they did CPR as well as they could until expert help arrived. Officer Hall saw how bad the situation was and called officers right away for more help. Investigator Stephen Holmes and his group from the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation got to the scene of the crime quickly. They looked at the house right away, and they started with the front door. The inspectors did not find any signs of a forced entry, but when they went inside, the place was a mess, which made them think someone had broken in. When they went into Brittany's room, they saw that she was dead and that she had been tied around the neck. Holmes also saw a wire hanger close by and thought that it might have been the cause of the marks. From his perspective, the hanger appeared to have the potential to produce the ligature marks observed on her body. The evidence suggested that Brittany had suffered both stab wounds and strangulation. Brittany was still wearing all of her clothes, so there was no immediate proof that she had been abused. As Detective Holmes tried to figure out what happened to Brittany, he thought the crime might have been a failed robbery, but he could not ignore the fact that it looked like nothing was missing. There was nothing wrong with the computer, and the family's belongings, like credit cards and gold, were not touched. The mess in the house made it look like someone was looking for something, but no one knew what it was. The team of inspectors did not give up, so they started a thorough search of the area, hoping to find a weapon that could give them important information. But none of what they did worked. After that, they decided to get a few more things to take a closer look at. This was a bunch of odd things, like an answering machine, blankets, a cell phone, checkbooks, a coat hanger, a computer, a jewelry case, and more. From Brittany's bedroom, they also took samples of hair, blood, fibers, and fingerprints. They hoped that any evidence they could find would help them figure out what had happened. After doing their jobs, the agents had to make the hard decision to take Brittany's dead body away from the scene. Her small body was moved carefully to the room where the autopsy would be done. Less than 24 hours after Brittany died, Holmes and Barbara talked to her husband, Reginald, and her mother, Angela. They tried to figure out what had happened on that terrible day. Angela told what she did at work and said she was there from 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Around 4 o'clock, she got back home. The attention then turned to Brittany's stepfather, Reginald, who told a heartbreaking story about deep loss and pain that was hard to imagine. He recounted to the police that on that dreadful day, he had left his house at around 7 a.m. His destination was Bourbon Street, where he was heading for work. Then he went to a different place on Pinewood Avenue to fix a bathroom. He said that after that, he was going to meet a woman named Amanda Scott, whose house needed work. But before he did this, he and his father went to his house to get some papers. The next part of Reginald's story was about the scary thing he found inside the house. He called for Brittany because he saw that the drawers and computer stand were open. But no one answered. He said that his fear grew as he got closer to her room and saw her lying still on the bed. He tried to wake her up, but he could not believe it when he saw that she had a cut on her neck. As he held her close to his chest, he could not help but cry out. His father, who was waiting outside in the truck, could hear how upset he was. Angela saw something when she got home from work that would stay with her forever. The way Reginald explained it sounded like it could be right. He was also willing to work with the cops in every way. Even on his own, he agreed to take a polygraph test. When the police were happy with what he told them, they turned their attention to Brittany's real father, Roderick. But when they asked around, they quickly found out that he was not a suspect because he was out of town at the time of the crime. Investigators did not have any clear leads to follow, so they worked hard to find out more about the crime from people in the neighborhood where it happened. They went door to door in the area and asked people if they saw or heard anything strange the day Brittany died. On that day, some people said they saw a man running between houses, which was odd. No one had looked at them closely enough to describe them in detail, though. Even though they had a setback, the detectives kept looking for justice. They did it because they wanted to help the family get over the terrible loss and move on with their lives. As the investigation went on, the details of Brittany's autopsy came out, which gave more information about how she died. It was found that she had been strangled and knocked out with a coat hanger. But in the end, it was the deep cut on her neck that killed her. Brittany's body did not have any marks of self-defense, and there was no alien DNA on her. During the test, something worrying came to light. It was discovered that she had injured herself in a place that is not visible. During the autopsy, the medical inspector thought that it might have been the result of two people doing something together. When the cops found out about this, they went in a different direction and started to think that Brittany might have had an unusual and possibly dangerous sexual encounter that involved strangulation. They started to think that her death might have been a terrible accident that happened when a planned meeting went wrong. They started to think that the person who killed her might have been scared and messed with the crime scene. With this shocking turn of events, detectives knew that the key to solving the case was to find out what was going on in Brittany's personal life. Their research led them right away to a young man named Terry. Before she died, Brittany went out with him. As Terry sat down for an interview with the police, they could feel the weight of his sadness and real loss in his eyes. Terry said that he had been dating Brittany for a few months, but that they had broken up 2 weeks before she died because her family was going on a trip. He also told them where he had been on the day that Brittany died. After the conversation, the investigators carefully looked over Terry's story, trying to put it in order and figure out what it might mean. They thought he did not have anything to do with Brittany's death because of how quickly he helped them and how sad he looked. Still, questions remained. Who else might know the truth? What lies were hiding under the surface of Brittany's life, which seemed normal? As rumors spread, people began to wonder about another man called Jerome Buckler. He used to date Brittany, and because he had a difficult past and a criminal record, he could be a person of interest. But when the cops questioned him, he showed strong feelings and volunteered to take a polygraph test. He also gave samples of his hair and blood to show that he was not guilty. As the probe went on, several interesting things happened that made the case even more complicated. Angela, Brittany's mother, told investigators that Brittany had an abortion 5 years before she died. Even though they tried to find out who had gotten her pregnant, Angela became defensive and would not give any more information. Because of this, the detectives gave Angela and Reginald their full attention. They were able to get pictures of the couple's house that were taken on the day they were killed. And when they looked closely, they made an interesting discovery. Reginald was in some of the pictures, and detectives noticed something important. There were no bloodstains on his shirt. It was a fact that went against his story that he held Brittany in his arms. This is because if he had done it, her blood would have gotten on his shirt. This inconsistency made people wonder if Reginald's story was true, so they looked at him more closely as a possible suspect in the case. Then, to check if Reginald's alibi was true, investigators carefully looked at the plan he said he had. He said that on the day of the tragedy, he left his house at 7 a.m. and went straight to work, not coming back until later. But they soon found out that what he said was not true. They were able to find 2 people who said they saw Reginald turn around and go back home soon after he left. These people also remembered seeing Reginald at his house around lunchtime, looking upset. Because of these results, the police chose to look into Amanda Scott, the woman Reginald said he would meet for repair work. However, it was hard for them to find out anything about her. There were no papers or other proof that she was real. Despite all the problems, police became more sure that Reginald was to blame for Brittany's death. The most important question that was still open was whether or not the murder was planned or if it happened because of a fight. Investigators went up to Reginald with all of this proof in hand. Even though they said he was guilty, he always insisted he wasn't. Even though there was more and more proof against her husband, Angela never stopped supporting him. Reginald and Angela both went to a lawyer as soon as they realized that a storm was coming. After this, the police tried to get blood and hair samples from Reginald to strengthen their case against him. But the couple was not going to give in. Only when a judge stepped in and issued an order did Reginald have to do what the police wanted. Finally, on August 12, 2005, detectives used a search warrant to take Reginald into custody and charge him with first-degree murder. It was a big step in the right direction in their quest for justice. The people in the town watched with bated breath, waiting for the truth to come out. A few days after Reginald's arrest, there was a preliminary hearing. During the meeting, the judge told him that he might get the death sentence. On October 19, 2005, Reginald was released on a $350,000 bond. However, his freedom was short-lived as on February 2, 2006, he was arrested again. This time, he faced charges related to the attack in Brittany's case. Surprisingly, on a bond of $500,000, higher than the first one, he was set free, leaving everyone in the town shocked. The fight in court got worse from there and went on for months. In 2007, Reginald made an Alford plea, which let him keep saying he was innocent, even though there was a lot of evidence against him. Because of the plea deal, he did not get a term that could have been worse. He admitted to murder and assault in the second degree, which are less serious crimes. In 2008, Reginald got the longest possible jail time, 11 years and 8 months. As part of the deal he made to admit guilt, he started his probation on January 20, 2015. He was finally free to leave in March 2015. People who were sad about Brittany's death found the end of his prison term bitter because the punishment did not seem as bad as the pain of losing her. The case of Brittany Lawrence is still a sad tragedy with many unanswered questions and troubling facts. May her memory be a call to action, telling us to know the signs of abuse, help people who need it, and work for a world where everyone feels safe and valued. But as this part ends, one question remains. Why did Brittany's mother, Angela, choose to stand by Reginald even though the evidence pointed to him being guilty? Tell us what you think in the comments. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, comment on it, and share it. Keep yourself safe, and thanks for watching.